Okay. So we're just go.
That was the essence of everything right there. And that was two fingers snapping.
That was. Tell me the essence of everything. When I clapped my hands, why did you say that?
Because you lost your thought of doing anything. You just did it.
That's true.
It is.
I wasn't thinking when my hands were clapping.
Yes, you were just clapping.
Right.
So what's the sound of two hands clapping?
Nobody
We heard
knows.
it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Okay, so since we're rolling in off of last night, the event that we did, I'm sitting here with Sam and Sarah, and people are going to know that because yeah. So coming in off the event last night, Sarah sang in front of a group. It's not something that you do that often anymore, and it's not something you would even prefer on some level.
True.
But you were offering a blessing, and your father suggested it, or does he even suggest things anymore, or is he just kind of? You were telling me that he just says, "Hey, I'm going to have you do a thing," and
Like
that's
that.
it. It's like that. Has it always been like that?
Over time, yeah. Over time.
Have you learned to trust the lack of information that comes?
Oh yeah, I'm 45 years in.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Holy moly, you are. Yeah, that I can't even imagine. I really can't imagine. How when you mingle with other people who were not in the rich tradition and long lineage of certain practices and philosophies, and especially the one that we all follow, when you mingle with other people growing up, and see other families or other lifestyles, did you feel like an outsider in?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I had like a deep desire to be a wasp.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I was born in Boulder, and there we were just with Sangha. I was in a preschool that was started by Trungpa Rinpoche's Sangha called Alia. It was just, I was with Sangha. And then when we moved to Nova Scotia, right at the time when Trungpa Rinpoche passed away.
87?
88.
88.
87, 88, yeah. Then there was Sangha, but I went to school with, Nova Scotia's just full of wasps. And, I was a ethnically Jewish, culturally Buddhist kid, amongst white Anglo-Saxons, and I really wanted to fit in, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So was there a rebellious phase of rebelling against it at all? Or like, I'm not going to Sangha today, or I'm not... No,
I always felt connected to Dharma.
Huh.
I wanted to I think it was more like ethnically fit in. And maybe, tone down the sort of perceived weirdness.
Right.
What seemed weird, which I understand isn't, obviously at this point. I had other kinds of rebellions. They were never that strong and never against my parents or Dharma.
Huh. What could you rebel against if not your parents in this life?
That's a good question. What did I rebel against? I really, in my teens, I really didn't like being like a pretty girl, and I shaved my head when I was.
Were you told that
14.
you were pretty since you were
I was
young?
in grade school. I didn't feel like I fit in, but I was with this group, this little group of waspy girls, and the other girls called us the pretty girls, and I thought it was disgusting, and I really hated it. And when I was 14, when I was in grade 9, when I was 14, I shaved my head, and it was just
rad.
I'm done with this.
Was there music that was accompanying this choice?
No, I did it in the basement bathroom of my home. I think I told my parents, but nobody else.
And there's a long tradition of nuns shaving their head.
I did that. I did it again. I shaved my head again at Gampo Abbey. After I graduated high school, I went to take temporary ordination at Gampo Abbey. So I shaved my head again at that point for that reason. But
Wow.
the younger time was a fuck you.
Oh, okay. Are there like barber chairs set up at Gampo Abbey, like sitting next to Ani Pema, like she getting her head
Pema
buzzed?
just had some golden clippers. And,
These clippers were used by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche himself, and now we're shaving your head.
No, in the ordination ceremony, the person giving the ordination symbolically snips like one little bit of hair.
Oh.
But then you just go and shave it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Does it feel liberating to all the women out there who haven't ever shaved their heads?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I mean, I haven't done it since then.
Yeah. Does it work with, does it activate ego to see yourself in that way? And I mean, to look at yourself with the buzzed head after having hair, and even with your upbringing being what it is and so steeped in non-attachment to such things, is there does it mess with you at all to shave your head?
I mean, I can only speak to my
Right.
teenage self.
Right.
It was super liberating, and I felt like I was seen for the first time. I had even like teachers in school say like, "Oh, like I didn't see you before. I didn't like, I didn't even know that you were smart."
Whoa.
And
What does that mean? Is it because like your look was obscuring?
yeah, I don't know.
Huh.
And teenage girls are brutal, and
Yeah.
they start treating you differently, and the boys definitely start treating you differently, and that was a relief too.
To get the attention?
To not get the attention.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Now I'm middle-aged, so I don't need to shave my head.
Why? What's different now?
People don't see you the same way anymore.
Right. Wow. So growing up in this tradition, what are you taught sort of that you not to cry over spilt milk? Is crying over spilt milk a thing in the household, in the Bercholz household at all in those early years? I mean, is there normal, attachment issues? When you've been raised in this, you were named, your middle name came from Trungpa Rinpoche, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, there's just like this fusion before you even got here of intent and all the stuff that brings you here. I mean, Trungpa Rinpoche, did he say you needed to have kids? Was it an order?
It was an order. Yes, it was definitive, and I couldn't argue with it.
Right.
It was, and the idea was for us to have kids so that there would be future people who really cared about Dharma, who were raised in Dharma from birth.
Wow.
So it was not something that they imported. It was who they were.
Right.
It was like that.
So, I mean, that sounds a lot like the Mormons. I mean, not specifically, but just, it's like, hey, let's have more of us. Like, that's,
the world works in only so many ways. And all religious traditions have something in common.
Yeah.
They're religions.
Right.
In other words, there's certain things you do.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so on. Some are more liberating than others. And, generally, I think religion is more or less okay. But if it's just doing things by rote, that's not okay.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
But the way people study religion is one thing, and then
Right.
the way they put it into effect can be something totally different.
Yeah.
But if you have a religion that teaches you how to be a decent human being and to benefit other beings, that's what you work for.
Right. What I find myself in sometimes, and this is certainly in all things are egoic issues, but I think about this often of how I found all the answers to everything that I'm looking for within this tradition, but the byproduct of all the practices makes you not feel like it's the only thing in town and the only way to get there and all that, even though it's so specifically saved my life. I mean, it so specifically transported me in this lifetime, it feels like, into another lifetime within this same life. That, how powerful that is. It's so powerful and so beautiful that I care enough about it not to be somebody that tries to sell it or tries to push it. You care about it so much that you wouldn't even disrespect it by doing that. And that's the weird thing that I find myself in often. And I think about, religions of the world attempting to sell the hey, we found the way and this is going to save you. Yeah, exactly.
Understandable.
Right. So, but that's the byproduct of this particular tradition, is that I don't want to sell it.
Yeah. My own path to Buddha Dharma was by investigating every possible spiritual tradition. I was born into a weird world, post World War II, from Holocaust survivors and so on. And my view of the world was very strange because it was based on the pain of where I came from.
The attempted extinction of your entire race.
But when I came to America as a refugee, and probably an illegal alien at that, I understood that you could get away with anything by lying. You didn't have to tell the truth. You could just say whatever you wanted. And I was just that dumb kid from Sweden. And people believed the lies or didn't believe the lies. And it was interesting watching it. The worst thing that ever happened to me when I was young is the lies that I told became truth.
Wow.
And it's like, I made shit up and then it happened.
Yeah.
But I learned creativity from that. But I had to go through the darkness of making things up.
Right. It's almost like you have to experience that mind is powerful enough to manifest things, and it will even manifest your lies. So why not use it for good? Right.
And, so at a very young age, I was involved in politics, young Democrats. I went to Washington, D.C., with the Democratic Party, went to university there, and freaked out. Because I met my heroes, and my heroes all lied all the time.
Wow.
And because they were my role models.
Right.
And, and by just set of odd circumstances, I knew the Kennedy family.
Yeah.
I knew LBJ, and it just through a set of circumstances, because I served them as a, what they call a boy. Just, an assistant. And it was the middle of the Vietnam War. And
you saw lies everywhere behind the scenes, huh?
I saw them, and I saw them being made up.
Wow, on the spot.
On the spot. So, I had a panic, and I went back to San Francisco and investigated. I wanted some connection with truth. The big lies, I couldn't stomach them, and I didn't want to be one of those people. And so I looked at everything. And at that time in history, it was the late 60s or mid 60s, maybe mid to late 60s. Everything existed in the San Francisco Bay Area. There was a representative of everything, from Chinese Buddhism to Sufism in Yat Khan, to Christian mystics, to Anton LaVey and
Satanism,
and Hindu ashrams and so on.
Right.
And actually, I spent some time with Haridas Chaudhry, who wanted me to become his successor after I'd spent like just a few months with him. But I had to become brahmacharya to be his.
Oh, gotcha.
And I met Hazel.
Sarah's mom.
You probably don't know a lot of these crazy things.
I don't know that one.
Wow.
And,
I know about the Korean temple.
It's Chinese temple. And I had a choice of falling in love and being with Hazel, or being brahmacharya and being...
You're born to lose that one.
And being trained as a yogi Hindu mystic. And
You had the opportunity to be trained as a Hindu yogi mystic, and you chose Hazel.
I did.
Yeah.
Great choice.
Yes, absolutely.
Great choice.
Right.
Because you can't lie to that girl.
Wow.
That was good.
That's a path.
That is a path.
She's a path.
And I also ended up at this Chinese, the oldest Buddhist temple in America, which is in Chinatown in San Francisco. And the first time I did meditation, I had no idea what it was, but you sat down at dusk and you got up for meditation at dawn. So that was my introduction to meditation, and it made a huge impact.
Just the simple practice of meditation.
Just being there all night and being uncomfortable. Watching my mind go a million different places, and then watching my mind tire out so it couldn't go any place. And, like playing the watcher game. And then at some point, the watcher goes away, and there's just being.
Yeah.
And then I met one of the teachers at the Chan Temple, who was a man named Joe Miller, and he was actually the shop steward for the strippers union.
Really?
In San Francisco.
A holy man.
He was a holy man. That is the address. All the strippers
No pun
trusted him.
intended.
But he was an older guy, and I find it really interesting. When I knew him, he was this age.
Wow.
I'm the same age as Joe.
Wow.
And Joe had been head of the Theosophical Society in San Francisco, and a very good friend of W.Y. Evans Wentz, and had studied the Tibetan Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of Great Liberation, and he is the one who introduced me to Tibetan Buddhism, and he is the one who taught me how to meditate, along with Abbot Tolan, the abbot of the Chan Temple.
Gotcha. I was this is incredible that you just shared that, because this morning as I was meditating and doing guru yoga before your arrival, which is essential to me to do every day, as natural and essential as brushing my teeth, drinking liquid, anything like that. It's a natural, normal, I need to clear out and brighten my antenna for the day so I can be in touch with the lineage, my teacher, and all the great ones of the past. And also emptiness. I don't want to leave that out as a huge teacher that gets installed in this practice. But the simple thing of me starting meditating years ago, this is what I was contemplating this morning. I was like, wow, this simple thing has birthed Sam and Sarah coming over to my bedroom.
Samsara.
I mean, all of this, it's just birthed all of this. And nowhere in the instruction of meditation, and I was taught Tibetan tranquility meditation. That was my first.
Shine.
Yeah. And nowhere in there does it say the books that you're reading are going to come alive and they're going to pull you in. You're going to look at everything differently. Nothing from the past will have necessary relevance. It'll just be a reference. None of this is said in just learning to meditate. And it's birthed all of this. That simple practice.
Indeed. The simple practice of doing. nothing.
Yes.
But doing nothing and being awake,
Right.
that's the key.
When did you become, Sarah, a practitioner where you were actually like feeling it and not in the sort of early, I don't know, did you have an early learning curve with it where it was like doing your parents' thing at all?
A little bit. I mean, I did I did some Shambhala training levels. I think the first one I was maybe 14, and I taught myself sign language during it with my hands. I don't remember, but that's how well I did with the meditation.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
But she did really well as a baby. I used to get up to do Nundro when she was when she was a baby, and at a certain point, I'm doing my practice, and she would get up and sit in my lap for totally quiet, totally tranquil.
Wow.
While I was doing my mantra practice.
Yeah.
That's actually
for an hour.
Yeah, those are my earliest memories.
Is that right?
I can't remember the specifics of it, but I can sort of like remember his hands and the light, like just being in that space.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. I mean, oddly enough, my dog Billy, who you met today, when I begin Guru Yoga in the morning, she leaves her perch, and I started to think she leaves it and comes and sits next to me, and she's not a very cuddly dog. She doesn't usually go out of her way to go come be next to you, so that this happens, it's extraordinary that it's the only time of day she chooses to leave where she's at and comes and sits down next to me, and I feel like it's that thing that maybe you were crawling into his lap. It's that same, like there's some sort of energy output or something that attracts. I mean, the stillness that we're creating has an effect.
I think it's the stillness, and it's not just stillness. It's stillness imbued with passion for wakefulness and passion to clean ourselves enough to be a benefit to others. Clean out our trash, basically.
Yes, right.
And
I think it's also karmic.
And it's
me.
karmic.
I mean, I was that's what I was born for.
Right. Is there a point in your life where that did that ring truer, like deeper into your life, where you recognized
every day.
Yeah.
And I try not to carry it with too much pressure or be too guilty about the ways that I don't feel that I'm not living up to it, but sort of, I don't want to waste this precious life.
Right.
Yeah.
just to go back to
please.
Religion for a moment, it's through my friend Joe Miller and my experience of meditating that I became a publisher. And it started, I had a bookstore in Berkeley, and the first thing I published was only for the bookstore. It was like a little pamphlet called "Who Am I?" by a man by the name of Ramana Maharshi. One of the great yogis of India.
Right.
And specifically in the beginning, there was no Tibetan Buddhism in America at the time. Ramana Maharshi and Huineng, the sixth patriarch of Zen, those are the things that spoke to me because they had the ring of truth. And I just wanted to make it available.
Right.
Like, wow, check this out.
Yeah. So, and that's what made you launch the bookstore, or was that a book that came into the?
No, I wrote the people in Tiruvannamalai in India, and they said, "Can you print up 1,000 copies of Who Am I?" And the other one was Spiritual Instructions by Sri Ramana, and put Shambhala Booksellers on the cover.
Wow.
And yes, and I think they cost me ₹1 each, and I think we sold them for 25 cents each, and I gave away as many as I sold.
Wow, right, beautiful, huh? Well, it seems like it's been good to you to have done that.
That was the beginning, and then things left just that tiny counter at our bookstore.
What can you say about sowing the seeds of generosity? In that way.
Generosity is just giving without expecting anything in return. So you can give someone the most beautiful, profound, if it's a book, whatever, but it depends on the karma of the one giving and the one receiving. And you never know.
Right.
In my wishes, all those people who got spiritual instruction from Ramana Maharshi through those little pamphlets, I'm sure some of them actually have some level of enlightenment just from meeting Sri Ramana's mind.
Wow.
And I feel the same way about many of things. It's just like, okay, remember this, study this, become this. Sri Ramana, Wei Ning, the great masters are no different than you. Human beings with minds.
Beautiful. Sarah, what is your middle name?
Hamsa.
Hamsa, and that was from Trungpa Rinpoche. And what is it? Can you talk about receiving a name like that, or just what it's meant to you, and also just how long? I guess. So you're 45. You're 4 years younger than me. So that means you're 80.
79.
79. Okay, so 79. So then you had like 8 years or something like that alive while Trungpa Rinpoche was alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you remember at all as a child being in his presence?
I can't remember Trungpa Rinpoche alive. I remember being with his kudung, with his body, after he had died. That's my only real memory.
Yeah.
But
can you describe that really quickly? Like, what at that age had you been around other? I guess you didn't have many memories. You're saying prior to this of Trungpa Rinpoche specifically.
I just can't remember actively being around Rinpoche. However, I dream of Rinpoche sometimes. When my dad is teaching, he'll morph into Rinpoche. Wow. I feel connected with Rinpoche. Like that, but I don't have an active, I don't have the video or photograph that plays in your head of memories. I don't have a Rinpoche except for that sitting with Rinpoche's kudung.
Gotcha. So as an 8-year-old child at that stage, do you remember what it was like?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Can you talk about it at all? Or would you?
Yeah. I mean, it's very watercolory, but it was in a house in Halifax. Rinpoche's body was in Rinpoche's house in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and was in a large room in a Victorian-ish house, and there was a huge shrine, a throne, a huge throne. I think there was you could sit 360 degrees around the throne. There was room for people to sit, and it was, in my memory, it was sort of tiered, and there were offerings around. I don't know if that's true.
Was he sitting up?
Yes.
Upright?
Yeah.
And that's just for the layman, for people who don't know. I mean, that's a position that I wouldn't say it's common because it's very special when it happens, but
yes.
it's also it's
tradition.
happened. It's tradition. Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was appropriate for the tradition,
Right. Right.
It was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but otherwise it was it was Trungpa Rinpoche, so it was mostly Tibetan, but there were always little bits of Japanese things or
Right.
British things or whatever are around.
He was an appreciator of all these cultures.
Yes,
Yeah.
So yeah, I just, I can see in my mind's eye Rinpoche sitting, like I am on the ground and Rinpoche's higher up on this sort of throne in samadhi. Yeah.
And I don't know if I made it clear earlier, but like he passed away in that position, right? Was he sitting upright?
I wasn't there, so I don't know.
That's right.
I can't say.
Okay. But it is common to pass away sitting up in the meditation position, in the lotus position, and to pass away that way, and to be, and
not
then
necessarily lotus,
Okay.
half lotus, whatever.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sitting up.
Cross-legged.
Cross-legged.
Okay, there we go. Right. Right. What's it like remembering that day to you today?
Well,
Or those days? It's days for you.
for me, it was not that different than being with him when he was alive, which is, I know sounds very strange.
No. I'm excited that you said that. I'm excited that people are getting to hear that. I know that. And I'm excited that you're saying it right now.
Because it was, excuse me.
While he's gathering himself, I'll interject for a sec.
Yeah.
When Rinpoche died, I remember, it was the first time I had seen my parents cry or in grief, and I was young. And when you experience that as a child, it's so frightening, to see, these, people who are, your parents are these, superheroes, sort
Yes.
of, hopefully, those of us who are blessed with supportive families. And it was like the earth had shattered. Wow. It was scary.
Yeah. Yep. Nobody likes to see Superman get beat up in the movies when the power is down. Nobody
And
likes
also-
Tonight is always there, though.
And also,
It's always hiding somewhere.
That's right. That's right.
and also,
Wow.
Trungpa Rinpoche was the axis point of everything, right?
Right.
He
So
was,
what's it gonna
he was
be
the
now?
sun.
Right.
So
How are we going to live without the sun?
that's what that was what it felt like. It was so confusing
Right.
to me as a kid.
I bet that is multi-layered.
But what I remember is just the vastness of space and mind. That didn't change. His body, was no longer functioning, but that presence was just wakefulness and playfulness. But it was heartbreaking that the doll, or whatever you want to call it, the Nirmanakaya, that body form was no longer there, and we were on our own. And the worst possible thing and the best possible thing, all at once.
Wow.
But there was no difference being with him, as what we call dead, because the power of the wakefulness was radiant.
Wow.
And you could just be with it.
Right.
But, we're humans, and when those that we love pass, it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, right. So does this passing, this example of a passing, so-called passing away, is it pointing for us all to the potential that exists within each of us to also conquer death in a certain way, in this way, where you can sit and there's some part of you that's passed on, but there's the playful wisdom, spaciousness thing that you described still being there. It's like it was still there. Does this point to the potential that's within all of us?
The potential for enlightenment is within all of us, and enlightenment is deathless. It has no limitations. The limitations we have, these limitations of body, because as Buddha pointed out right from the beginning, the truth of birth, sickness, old age, and death. These are guaranteed. Not necessarily the sickness and old age, but birth and death.
Yes,
Guaranteed.
There's the line in Nundro, in the Nundro prayers, after you've done the Guru Yoga piece, the Padmasambhava mantra, and it says, "The Lama is dissolved into me, abides inseparably with me. Look at the actual face of the Lama, the awareness which is emptiness." And my teacher, Tuin Lino Rinpoche, told me to be out in the world, not like in, staying in the community or with Rinpoche, and that I was never apart from Rinpoche. And I always think, in that line and in the Nundro chants, I mean, there's many of them, but just like that one, to me, that answers the question. It's like the mind of enlightenment is always with us, and we can see that, when we connect with Guru Rinpoche or any enlightened being. Or I always see my teacher as Guru Rinpoche when I'm visualizing Guru Rinpoche, and you see their face, it dissolves into light, it's absorbed into you, it's not inseparable. And that, right? Am I getting it? Am I right?
Yeah.
Did I get it?
And it is inseparable. That's the only part.
Yeah.
What I love about this is that you both have had the same teacher. After Trungpa Rinpoche passes, you go under the tutelage of His Holiness Tinli Norbu Rinpoche.
But that was because of Trungpa Rinpoche.
It was. Because of the joke thing?
Because of the joke.
Right.
I feel like I've heard that story on this podcast before.
Oh, we don't have to do
But
it again.
we don't have a video of it. And there's going to be people that are probably seeing this that haven't listened to those old ones. So just share this note passing, this beautiful note passing.
Yeah, when I think in the last year or two of Trungpa Rinpoche's life, he called me up to his office one day, and I thought we were going to work on a book or something, and he says, "Sam," and I say, "Yes, Rinpoche?" He says, "I want to tell you what to do when a High Lama accosts you." And I'm looking at Rinpoche, and I'm going, WTF, when is a High Lama going to accost me? How's that even possible?
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is ridiculous. And he gives me a set of instructions of what to do. He also, around the same time, same month or so on, had another meeting with me saying, "I tried to train all my students fully, but because of circumstances, there are certain things that you might want to look into." He gave me a list of those things. And then one day, I'm about to... I worked in Boston and lived in Halifax, so I'd go back and forth all the time. I was going back to Halifax.
Many years after Rinpoche had died.
Many years after Rinpoche had died, and my friend who worked the office, he was a student of this other great master, Dodrup Chen Rinpoche, and he said, he said, "Dodrup Chen is coming from Asia. Would you like to meet him since you're going to the airport?" I said, "Sure." I mean, I had heard about Dodrup Chen Rinpoche from Trungpa Rinpoche. Trungpa Rinpoche says something. He's one of the four that is completely enlightened and totally trustworthy, something like that.
How many years after Trungpa Rinpoche's passing is this? Is this like immediately or a couple years?
No, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay, gotcha.
And a lot of our community had fallen into politics.
In Ojai.
That's true. Ojai's a part of the story.
Yeah. There was a
division.
A division. And most of what went on, instead of practice, for some, not for all, but I was part of the so-called hierarchy, whatever.
Right.
And
Certainly.
the politics was driving me insane. I got out of politics.
Because this was the honest joint in town.
Yeah, to get into this. And
Yeah.
I'm back in politics. And so I ended up going to the airport with my friend, and Dr. Rinpoche was late. And then my friend started getting really nervous. And he actually started sweating on the spot, and it wasn't hot or anything. I said, Brian, what's wrong? And he said, Tiddly Rinpoche just walked into the airport.
Whoa.
You know, and I said, why are you so nervous? And he said, you'll see. And, you know, I was a little bit familiar with him. I'd read one little book, I think The Golden Key. And I didn't know much about him, whatever.
But you knew he was Chogyam Rinpoche's son?
I knew nothing.
None of that? Okay.
No.
Okay.
That all came later. And he comes over and greets Brian. Brian introduces me to Tiddly Rinpoche, and he paid no attention. And then I remember Brian clearing his voice and saying, this is Sara Bercholz from Shambhala Publications and Vajradhatu. That was the name of Trungpa Rinpoche's organization.
Right.
It wasn't called Shambhala International. At that
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
or whatever. That was part of the politics.
Right.
And he looks at me. You know, I could see the penetrating look. You stupid Dharmadhatu, Vajradhatu person, you and your regent involving our great Tensei Rinpoche in your idiot politics.
He's shit talking.
Yeah. And at the top of his lungs, everybody in the airport could hear.
You're being accosted at an airport.
I'm being accosted
By a lama.
what turns out to be a high lama, not just lama.
Right.
And something in my consciousness says, here's what you do if you're accosted by a high lama.
Wow. And you accessed the download, so to speak?
It was tiny. But I did what Trungpa Rinpoche instructed.
Which was
me
what?
to do.
It's kind of ridiculous, right?
Was pretty simple, and I can tell it now. I didn't used to tell it.
Yeah, you never tell it.
I'm going to tell it today.
Oh, wow.
But it is only for this one occasion.
Wonderful.
It is not a universal.
Just for the
It
people
was-
here in this room.
No. It was only.
Don't use this at home, folks.
Yeah. Don't do this.
There you
now.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
This was the transmission from one of my teachers to hand off to the
It's
next.
specific to the
It's
circumstance.
very
Right.
specific to
Right.
the circumstance. And it was, oh, yes, you Tibetans are so superior. You never think anything about money. You never think anything about sex. And you never think anything about power. And Tiddly Rinpoche goes from accosting to almost falling on the floor, laughing like a hyena. I mean, it tickled him to absolutely no end.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, Dr. Chen appears. And
Who was late? I mean,
his plane
that was
was
why
late.
you ran into.
yeah.
Right.
And one of his students, Sybil, one of his students, came over and said, Rinpoche would like to see you at the other end of the airport after Dr. Chen leaves. And we sat down and we had this wonderful conversation about how he loves airports. I said, why do you love airports? He says, this is like the bardos, the in-between states, where people are sorted, and some go this way, some go that way.
Some are hanging out.
Yeah, some are just
Right.
they work here and thing, and so on. And he opened my mind in a certain way. And I remember telling my friends when I got back to Halifax, I had this weird encounter with this lama, and we looked it up.
You looked
Yeah.
up who he was.
Yeah.
Within the lineage, and you're seeing all this stuff. Did it mean anything to you yet?
But we were used to this. This
right.
was our world, you know. And I ended up going on a solitary retreat. Except for the week that my family came. I had instructions from Trungpa Rinpoche that I should do a very particular kind of retreat, which would be, he said, the equivalent of parachuting into some place where you know nothing about the language, you have no idea about anything, and
God, at least he gave you a parachute this time. And there's this other famous saying of his that's without a parachute.
This was before.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where I found it, but I found this abandoned castle in the middle, Castello, in the middle of Italy, in the middle of winter. It was haunted like beyond conception.
It wasn't abandoned. It was.
Oh, it was like
condoized.
Oh, it was
but not
a castle condoized.
Like
for some reason, that was
middle of nowhere, old castle made livable.
Oh, gotcha.
In different compartments.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we were, and I did the practice, that I was instructed, which strangely included I took painting classes so I could paint in the afternoons between practice sessions. My instructions were these particular practices in the morning, these particular practices in the evening, and then do something, quote unquote, artistic in the afternoon. And the something artistic had to do with looking forward and any way I wanted, recording what I saw. So I learned how to oil paint.
Okay.
Shitty, but hey, the trick was being aware of phenomena. It was like that.
It's not about making good painting. It's about being aware of phenomena.
Being aware of phenomena. And it was a wonderful thing. And during that time, I realized, I got a letter from a friend who had told me that this man is making you an offer. I can't get this out of my head. My friend was a guy named Michael Root. The story stuck in his head. It didn't stick in my head. And he wrote me this letter, and he says, this man wants to give you something. And I went, okay. And at the end of the retreat, I ended up going to visiting my friend. He was in Cambridge, England. My friend Otto Rinpoche, who had been a fan of Trungpa Rinpoche, was there. And he transmitted to me the shower of blessings. And we practiced it together. And I realized right then that Padmasambhava, Guru Rinpoche, was the continuation of my path and would fulfill all the things that Trungpa Rinpoche asked me to look into. And when I got back to America, I tried to find Jaymee Rinpoche, which was impossible to do. Hidden yogi.
Oh, like his son.
No, his son. You can find him. There's the internet now.
Okay. But that's true. There's the internet.
He at the time was on a several-year retreat in one room in an apartment on Riverside Drive in New York City.
Oh wow.
And I went there, made the traditional offerings. I got the money together to get some gold. And
you knew it was Tenli Norbu that would take you to this, could carry on the work.
I had the realization.
Yeah,
and I followed through, and the rest is history. I spent 21 years living with him.
Right.
Not just being a student, but I moved in.
Yeah. Till the day he passed. I mean, just the last 20 years of his life.
We never lived more than a few.
Couple hundred yards.
Couple hundred yards apart.
Right.
And we practiced together every day.
Yeah.
Every night.
Wow.
I mean, continuously. And this Trungpa Rinpoche was a tough guru. Tenli Norpa Rinpoche was also tough.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, talk about frying pan. And then if you try to get out of the frying pan, you're in the fire. And you got to get out of the fire to get back in the frying
There's
pan.
nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go. And
That's a great teacher.
yeah.
That's a great.
And he loved me. He insulted me. He exalted me.
Who did he
decreased me.
insult?
No, I mean, by just being himself.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing anything.
Right.
But my subjective phenomena was all these things.
Right.
So, for me, he is also my root teacher. Usually in Tibetan Buddhism, you have one root teacher.
Right.
But he was, the gift from my first teacher.
Yeah.
And I'm a lucky guy. I ended
Yeah.
up with two of the
Right.
toughest MFs that ever probably lived on this planet.
Right.
And
Potentially the most profound also.
yeah, and I'm a very tough cookie. So I needed the tough ones.
Right. So when
This
he
is
insults
enough
you,
about me.
when he insults you, it's a good thing because it's insulting the ego part of you.
His
That
son, when we met his son in Bhutan.
we're talking to Zongzar Jaymee
No, we're
Khyentse,
talking
or-
about
Garbo Rinpoche.
Oh, okay.
Garbo Rinpoche.
Okay.
He has
How many
three
sons?
Three sons.
Three.
And 4
Four.
daughters.
Four sons and 3 daughters.
Again, too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Garbo Rinpoche, he said, "I'm really jealous of you guys. It's really horrible. I didn't spend most of my life with Rinpoche. I was here in Bhutan. He was in America. And more than that, he didn't meddle in my affairs. He didn't tell me what to do. You guys are so lucky
That he's
I
telling
am
you what
so
to do.
jealous of you that the main thing was not telling me.
No.
It was the main thing was he didn't correct. He didn't correct me. He corrected you guys. Do you know how fortunate you were?
Wow.
This is like
Like love is
also a
the
big
author
deal.
of the correction.
Love is the author.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Sorry, this is enough about me.
No. You know, and this is a great transition or bridge into, and this is something I think that people don't know about the guru idea, is that two people can have the same teacher, and in this case, father and daughter, and their instruction for your life can be completely different from one person to the next. I think that there's this idea maybe that having a guru, they're going to try and make you be like them, or they're going to think they know that there's a cookie cutter thing for you to fit into. And in this case, each individual's karma, the guru is able to see and work with in a specific way. And you were mentioning it earlier, Sara, and this is what I'd like to have you talk about is sort of, Sam's instruction from Tenli Norpa Rinpoche about how, what to do with the rest of his life or how to live it is different than yours. And it's probably different for everyone. Could you talk about, like you said that yours was to be out in the world, your instruction or something, or what?
Yeah, and I mean, not to be like, my brother after high school went.
Shout out to Ivan, right?
Holla.
Yeah.
Ivan went to live with Rinpoche after he graduated high school and was with Rinpoche pretty much, even closer than Sam.
Is that the sweetest? That is the sweetest thing to think about. Someone graduating high school and wanting to be with a Tibetan teacher like that. Just having the next thing be that.
The only reason he finished high school is because he wanted to leave school at the age of 14. Tenli Norpa Rinpoche told him, "No, you have to finish school." And not only that, I was a lazy student and had problems. He said, "You have to finish at the top of your class."
No way. Wow, that's wild. And so in that case, Tenli Norpa isn't going, "Hey, this is what young people do. We go to school." If it was the right thing for him not to go to school, he would say it. But in this case, he could see, he's like, "No, for you, I really think that you need to do this. This is the way for you to fulfill your karma."
We all have different phenomena, right?
yeah,
we all
right.
have like the shit that we carry.
Yeah.
And my shit's different than your shit's different than his shit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like what I, when I was under the pressure cooker, or when I was in Rinpoche's, good graces, like, you sort of like had times when Rinpoche was like, when it was like so joyful to be around Rinpoche, and then there were times when you were just like cowering. And that looks different for everybody because of what we're working with. Like,
is the cowering and unmasking, is it because is the cowering a form of you're being unmasked, like you're showing where you're vulnerable to
there's nowhere to go.
environments?
You're not showing it. You just like, it's just apparent, and it's like being shown back, like you have to look at it, you have to be with it,
Right.
you have to deal with it, and it feels like he was saying, like, you're in the frying pan, and then you move to the fire, and then you're back in the frying pan.
Right.
Like, there's nowhere to go.
Right. And it's so weird too, because you're like, there's a component of this where you're almost trained to look beyond what feels like bad vibes, commonly referred to as like, oh, it doesn't make me feel good to be around.
It's not bad
not
vibes.
bad.
It's
It's
so
good.
different
No, I know
than
it's
bad
not.
vibes.
That's commonly referred to, though. I'm saying people aren't rushing to hang out with people who provoke them into or have create emotional responses. They avoid that mostly. And in this case, in this tradition, you're taught almost that there's virtue in being unmasked.
Well, you have to trust your lama. You can't just like go up to somebody and be like, do that thing,
Right.
or whatever. It's not like that. Or, if you are being, if you do find yourself being challenged, like, be sure that you are being challenged by the right person, by enlightened mind, not by
Not by a lama,
contrivance
but your lama. Like you said it specifically.
Yeah.
You have to trust your lama, meaning you've gone through this process of vetting and made a decision.
If they're your lama, then yes, but be
Right.
careful.
Right.
The deceitless lama is the key. There are many, many deceivers.
Yes.
Lama just means teacher,
Right.
guru, same word, but there are people who are teachers who will deceive you, lie to you, and do things for their benefit. And then there are deceitless lamas that don't really care about their own edification or what you think about them or anything. They just care about other people. And there's no deception. But we have to figure that out, each and every one of us ourselves. I just wanted to go back to one thing because I know you like this
Anytime.
kind of thing.
Yeah, anytime.
The way Ivan at the age 14 became Tili Norba Rinpoche student, after pujas, we do pujas late at night, have dinner, and then we'd all dance and to rock and roll music. I mean, Rinpoche wrote this book, Magic Dance, which is wonderful.
Yes.
And he loved dance, and he was a dancer himself. And actually, strangely, one of the things that Trungpa Rinpoche was sorry about not being able to teach us was cham, which is dance because
of his
Rinpoche was
paralyzation.
paralyzed. Right. And so the first night Ivan was there, he put on some music that he could break dance to. I mean, he was a like skater kid, and
Hip hop and the whole deal.
and pot,
Right.
The whole 9 yards.
Yep.
And there in the midst of this sacred place, he could break dance. And it was appreciated by everybody. And Rinpoche loved him because he could just be himself.
And I imagine it's a new form of dance that he's not seen before.
Rinpoche was hip.
Yeah. You'd seen breakdancing.
I mean, he's from New York.
Yeah.
So it's
Catch some things. Maybe?
yeah. The path is not always what you think it's going to be. His entrance into the essence of so-called highest teachings of Indo-Tibetan Buddhism was through breakdancing.
and through there was I won't say who it was. I don't know if it matters or not, but somebody was visiting and Rinpoche was talking with directly to this other visiting person. And
the child of some very highfalutin person.
And I don't think that person heard it, but Ivan heard it as if Rinpoche were talking directly to him.
Oh, wow.
That's where
true story.
that's where Ivan's mind shifted.
Huh. Gotcha. That's amazing. It's like he was reached exactly where it mattered the most, and the natural, wherever there would be a natural connection that could be this durable, was created there through the specificity of breakdancing and
that he could just be himself,
right.
and that the perfection would come from, if you're going to breakdance and be any good at it, it requires discipline.
Right.
So later, after a few years of just rock and roll dancing, everything changed to monastic offering dance. But everyone already knew how to dance, and everyone was used to dancing every day.
Yeah.
So the dance transformed itself over a decade or so.
And Rinpoche, I mean, it was rock and roll, but it was also like Bollywood or various things,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
all
like,
kinds of stuff, yeah.
And Rinpoche would ask, you know, the music would play, and Rinpoche would ask people to dance, and it was always as an offering. So that part was, you weren't doing, you know, sacred dance, so to speak. But we went to nightclubs too, and it was always an offering.
Wow, that's far out. That's something to
You're
think
in a
about when you.
nightclub, and Rinpoche's like, go dance with that guy, and you're like, okay, you know, or like Rinpoche would find the good dancer in the room and have us go dance, and it was always an offering. So that part, you know, like working with that was sort of the lead up,
Because you're doing a visualization when you're dancing there, and it's come at the behest of Rinpoche asking you to, hey, go dance with that person. You're visualizing it being an offering.
Well, like in Sokong Dechen, the prayer that Sam, you know, offered through me last night. You're in the palace of the. Great exaltation. You transform whatever the space is, and you become a dakini, and you make the offering.
God, that's beautiful. We were talking earlier about being sure about your teacher, and it brought up, I was thinking about not so much how does the world necessarily forgive deceivers, but how in as deep into the Buddhist community and these great traditions as you were completely raised in and you have done for more than half your life, how does forgiveness work within the Buddhist community when there's been deception? Because
you
we're
forgive, but you don't forget the deception.
Nice.
It's very important because others' deception comes from the same seed of your own possible deception. And I've had to work with this my whole life, the difference between truth and lies. And being a publisher, I've had to discern. And I made a few mistakes. And we're allowed to make mistakes. We're human. But once you find what's real and deceiteless, you go with it.
And this includes with our own. We forgive our own, but we don't forget.
We don't. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not separate.
Right.
So, you know, I've met many deceivers. I've even liked a few of them. You know, they're great.
They're not all deceivers. They're
they're great when they're great,
Right.
and they're deceivers when they're deceivers.
Right.
I'm a very skeptical human being. With my teachers, I always was looking for the dark side. I was always waiting for them to make a mistake.
They never came.
They made mistakes, little mistakes, human mistakes, but not to deceive anybody.
Not motivated by deception.
Not motivated by deceit.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, even an egg is being deceived if you crack it into a pan. It's like the shell, it's been broken, but it wasn't the intent to hurt the
Deceitless in a spiritual sense is not guiding you down the lily path to bullshit.
Right.
To some idealized thing that you want to hear.
Yeah.
Dharma is sacred, profound, and very much what you don't want to understand.
We're talking about us. This is
not
everybody else. Right.
Yeah.
This is information for us to view our own mind.
For us.
Yes.
Deceitless Lama is the seed for deceitless student. And it's so easy for us to deceive others and to deceive ourselves. It's up to us to clean.
Right. Our own mind.
Yep.
I think I'd like to spend the last bit of this conversation focusing on the seeds of the Dharma now here in the West and how well it's going. Sam, at a certain point, you retired from the day-to-day operations of Shambhala Publishing. Not retired, but yeah, that would be too strong.
Did you know Rinpoche asked me, do you have to go to work every day? And I had to, and I figured out, no. It was a habit. Things were going well, and I decided to go live with him. And changed my life. I retired in a way, I still, was available, but I did not go to the office.
Is it Sarah, is he still available in the way of like and pardon the expression, but sort of the oracle surrounding, like, since he's had such a, he came up with the name Shambhala Publishing before even meeting Trungpa Rinpoche. And
Publications, Jaymee.
Publications. What did I say?
Publishing.
Oh my gosh, I do that something. Thank you very much. Sure. So he came up with Shambhala Publications before even meeting Trungpa Rinpoche, and then putting out the book, and then meeting him at a certain point after putting in meditation in action, putting it out, then meeting him. Then they realize they have this connection between the Shambhala name and so and all the different things, all the different note passing that's gone on through Sam. Is that still active in some way of within Shambhala Publications, the oracle aspect?
I mean,
pardon the expression.
No. I've essentially been trained to do my job my whole life. And my brother too, in different ways. Like, I don't think that growing up at a young age, like I remember walking on our street in Halifax through the woods and Sam telling me, if you want to do this thing, if you want to continue in this business, you can go the places you want to go, meet the people you want to meet, and learn about the things you want to learn about through this business. Like it's a ticket. And, and then also, being surrounded by Dharma, being exposed to Dharma, never really being forced into it, just being given the opportunity. And then, I would go and do like little internships as a teenager in between, in the summers or things like that. And anyway, all that to say, Sam is my father and my spiritual friend and my mentor, and continues to be all of those things. And we talk often about dad things, friend things, and work things, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes
and
like
the boys.
Yeah. Grandpa things also, right? Right.
Oh, sure.
But I will say, I through osmosis, training, karma, whatever, sort of, inherited some level of publishing intuition. And as far as, like I have a built-in antenna of some kind that helps me navigate. But as far as choosing, when we're considering any Dharma book, we have sort of it's got to be put to the test. So like it has to be approved more rigorously. And my brother Ivan is more trained in that. So Sam's the ultimate call on it. But when Sam's no longer in this body, and Ivan does it too, but when Sam's no longer in this body, that piece, Ivan,
Gotcha.
he's got that.
Okay, and what would you say your strength is within Shambhala Publications and what that's being used for?
Sort of similar to our lives. Ivan went and lived with Tinlin Rinpoche and was trained like how a lama would be trained. Yeah. Right.
He is a lama, right? I mean, I know you guys don't use these. I know you don't
play this game.
I know.
We don't play this game.
I might know of 2 lamas within the family.
We don't play this game.
Okay. All right.
We don't like it.
And that's because of appropriation. Sort of the idea of
just not a thing.
It's
got it. Okay. It's not an active role that is.
You see me wear robes?
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Okay. All right.
Not my game.
Right. Okay.
He likes Italian clothing.
Yeah. That's true. He's got a taste for the finer thing.
So, that was my brother's life, and he came into working in our business more full-time after Tinlin Rinpoche passed away. I went to university. I went to Columbia University to the journalism school for book publishing. I worked in another publishing company before coming into Shambhala.
Wow.
I started as an assistant, and, so I've just had I'm more on the worldly side of things.
Yeah.
And have a more conventional, I suppose, education around publishing in the publishing world.
What's your official title there?
I think if I still had a business card, which I haven't carried one for a while, yeah. I'm executive vice president. Ivan and I both are.
Yes.
I'm co-publisher.
Okay.
I'm sort of, I think in an official capacity, I'm publisher, but really I'm co-publisher because of what I just described.
Yep.
And Nico, our president, also has a vast knowledge. He's very well read and is a practitioner. And so, we make decisions on most things as a team, but, my strengths lie more on the, in the kingdom of Shambhala, there's the holy and the ordinary, and they're not separate, and they're both important. Yeah. So I'm the holder of the ordinary,
nice.
which it is also extraordinary, right?
Yeah. The ordinary is where it's at. I never knew. I found out later on in life. It's where it's at.
It's all.
This guy taught me. Yeah.
It's making soup.
Yeah.
And trying to make really good soup.
And then my mother was the art director. She's a graphic designer and was the art director until she retired. And I work closely with her. So, I as publisher hold that role strongly in working with our art department on what our books look like.
Wonderful. So, we're in this pocket of time, and it could just feel like because my own path has been illuminated these books and these treasures of Trungpa Rinpoche's and all Shambhala publishing, it's all I've read last decade of my life. So I could just be projecting here by feeling like there's a resurgence or an injection of Trungpa Rinpoche and a spiritual awakening happening again in the country in the last decade. Is that just me waking up? It is.
Yes. I'm sorry to say, it seems that nobody wants to wake up right now.
Wow, right.
Everyone's distracted.
So the only healthy markets in the book industry are fantasy, romance, and romantasy.
Wow.
So we are living in a seemingly escapist time. And
I heard bunker creations are big on the market as
oh,
well.
maybe, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I never do I question the value or the longevity or the sort of, eternalness of Dharma. And, but yeah, that's
my own thing.
phenomena of what you're surrounding yourself with, which is wonderful. And, I think we're here talking, you're putting that out into the world, you're talking to people about it. It's not, but on the whole, that's not what's happening right now.
Wow. Well, that makes me feel very special, and I only do that for a second because it's no good long term to feel special. But that makes me feel very. It makes my lane that I'm very passionate about without attachment shine to me personally a little bit more.
Well, and it's not just you. It's just I'm talking about market trends,
right,
for whatever it's worth, and they're always changing.
Yeah,
that's
no. I just mean the part where I'm a part of at least it sounds like maybe a smaller group than I think about of people who are promoting the Dharma, discussing the Dharma like this, I guess, or being involved in this level of focus on the Dharma spreading here in the West at this time.
Well, I'm imbued in that world too, so I'm seeing it through a similar lens, and then I'm also a publisher who has to be educated about the marketplace. So,
we're projecting on each other,
right? Or I'm my role is often in my job to play devil's advocate. So maybe I'm bringing that a little bit, but the reason that Shambhala Publications continues to exist is for the reason that you're speaking to. We've made a very conscious decision and we check in about it often. Like Sam could have sold it long ago. We could have, when my brother and I started taking on ownership and my involvement in the business, there's been many points where it's like, should we keep doing this? And the answer is always yes. And the reason for the yes is always the same, which is that this work is there. There's nothing more important that we could be doing.
You're fulfilling your karma. You're all.
I mean, not just that, like even if I didn't have it, I mean, what else could I possibly give my life to that would have the impact that, books are worlds between covers, and to open minds to impact, like I could have gone and been a yoga teacher, or I could write a book or whatever, but nothing that I can do in this life will impact as many people. And I don't mean that about me. It has nothing to do with me. But what else could one give oneself to that would have as much significance or meaning? And so, yes.
It's up to us all to ask. That's up to us all to ask ourselves. What is that thing for us?
Exactly. And I have the incredible good fortune to have been given the gift of being involved in that activity, and it has nothing to do with me. I just show up and make it happen the best that I can with the wonderful people that I work with, and
family,
our family, and our wonderful staff who are dedicated to that work too. And I wanted to say something earlier because I'm just thinking about the amount of times that I have heard either directly asked to me or hearing it out in the world, the question of like finding one's guru and the longing for that. Maybe you didn't even know you had the longing, but if you meet the Dharma and then it's like, well, you had this close relationship with this teacher, how do I find that? And you can speak to this more, but I will say there's a reason that Dharma is accessible through so many different avenues. Books are one of them, right? But if you meet the teachings, if you meet the Dharma, When we went to Bhutan with Tendai Rinpoche, it was the most incredible experience that I could possibly imagine having. You've arrived with the Buddha in a Buddhist country. And nothing in the Western world can prepare you for that. I mean, maybe like Taylor Swift. Right. I don't know. Yeah. But you landed in a Buddhist country with the Buddha.
Right.
Everybody came out of everywhere, every crack, every nook and cranny, driving across Bhutan, everywhere. You're in like
millions
the most.
Of people. I mean, as many as there are people,
that many. When Rinpoche was teaching, but also driving through these. Bhutan is more remote than anything that we really know, in so many ways. And you're driving on these roads that should not be roads. These curvy roads, like cliff sides, mountain sides, and woods, and you'll turn a curve, and there were people waiting for Rinpoche with offerings of their grain or their like smoke offerings, whatever, just every nook and cranny, and those people are like disciples of Rinpoche.
Right. So it's like Christ is risen on some Christian level. It's like that he's driving down the street. Like, we're going to see Jesus today?
Like that.
What?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we're coming out of all the areas. Like if people heard that Christ was going to be driving down the, and this likeness I'm just using for Western culture.
Totally. But what
reference.
I'm trying to say is that pure devotion, that showing up, like the Buddha is coming, whether or not you had the chance to rub Rinpoche's feet, or you just had the chance to meet Rinpoche through a book, a teaching, a prayer that you heard of Rinpoche's voice, any of it, there's no reason that you can't connect to the mind of the guru.
That's the essence. Is whatever way it comes.
The personality stuff that we were talking about before, like his medicine is different than my medicine is different than your medicine or whatever. Yeah. Whatever, the way that if you have that direct relationship with the guru, that they work with your shit, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Like, yes, that's so important, but also we all have access.
Right.
At any moment that we choose, we all have access.
Yeah, for me, it came through your books.
Right, and that's true for so many people. And I
feel him every day. I mean, I talk to him. I see him he's a part of my mind. And it came through reading the text.
Yes, and many people. I've met so many people who feel that. Trungpa Rinpoche in particular, because of Shambhala Publications, but who say, I never met Trungpa Rinpoche, but he's my guru.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, yes. He's absolutely one of my gurus.
Yeah.
To end here, we're together on this auspicious occurrence. It's
called Saturday.
Saturday. Well, we're having puja today at our home here.
We are.
And you're leading puja, and could you talk about what we do and what today is, the significance?
The significance of today is it's the day I wanted to come see Jaymee Carpenter. That's the special day. It's not on. It's not on the not on a special practice day. Because of circumstance of life and so on, and thinking about certain of my friends, yourself, and a friend who lives here whose husband died recently. So I just decided I'm going to go see my friends and invite as many of my LA friends to come along with. And like we do in LA, we usually do this in LA. I drive from the 2 hours
the desert to LA
to LA to do this practice. I drove instead 4. But part of my practice is to share the blessings, which are the blessings of Padmasambhava, who is the essence for all Tantric Buddhists.
Yes.
Particularly the Nyingmas, but all Tantric Buddhists in the Tibetan tradition. So it's something my teacher asked me to do. He said, Sam, when you get older, go feed people Dharma and blessings. So
Beautiful.
I'm trying.
Man, thank you so much.
And every day is a good day for Guru Yoga.
Every day is a good day. And what we are
Said
doing
it.
is Guru Yoga, which is mixing our mind with truth and then forget the mix and just be it.
Nice. Thank you both for being here. Thank you for this conversation. I know you're not big celebrators of Father's Day, but it was very special to do that on this weekend.
Hey, who knew that? I'm a father and I didn't even know.
You're a father to many, yeah.
I'm joking.
I love you both. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jaymee.
Thank you.